Hello everybody. Today, I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite games of all time. This isn't going to be a full Let's Play or anything. This isn't live commentary or anything like that. This is just going to be a single playthrough and me talking about what I love about this fantastic game. Now let's meet the cast of characters who we will meet on our adventures. Zippy Toad, the one no one likes. I can relate, buddy. Peppy Hare, running like he really needs the toilet. Falco Lombardi, he doesn't hate you, he's just in love. And Fox McCloud, he's the leader of the bunch. You know him well. They really need to build a conveyor belt or something because that corridor is way too long. Quickly, heroes, get into your R-wings as fast as you can. It's time to show Andross we mean business, and by business I mean the only footsie index that Andross will have to check is the one up his arse. So yes, this is Lylat Wars, or if you live in the post-apocalyptic future that is Donald Trump's America, it's called Star Fox 64. I think it's also called that in Japan as well. Had to be changed in Europe for a trademarking reason. The first thing I'm going to do is change the language back to English. I only changed the language to Lylatian for a laugh. General Pepper in Lylatian sounds like he's constantly drunk. And we're just going to start a game.
Corneria, fourth planet of the Lylat system. The evil Andross turned.
So the game opens up with this introductory text scroll and this lovely deep voice narrator. He sounds great. This is just giving us the backstory of the game. This game is a kind of remake of the SNES Star Fox game, the one that came before this. It's essentially the same story of Andross, big evil man trying to take over the Lylat system or whatever. But they have changed a lot of the story and the characters around in this new game. This entire backstory you're hearing about the old Star Fox team and James McCloud's dad, Fox McCloud's dad, who is James McCloud, is new to this game. I mean, the basic plot is still as simple as it ever was, but they develop the characters around it more, and I think that's where the storyline and the storytelling actually is actually quite good. I'll probably explain a bit more of that later on when there's a good example, but that's the story introduced. Here is the map screen of the Lylat system. As you can see, we're starting from the big blue thing on the left planet Corneria, and we have to make our way over to that planet surrounded by the green fart gas, which is planet Venom.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I'll do my best. Andross won't have his way with me.
Good luck.
The first parts of the game actually closely follows the original Star Fox game on the Super Nintendo. Corneria and the second level, the asteroid belt, are sort of the first two levels in that game as well. But there are also quite a few little references as well. That little briefing scene where you have the talking with General Pepper, that's sort of taken from the first game as well. The same thing happens in that game. Also, the little voice clip, the one that goes, "Good luck," that was in the SNES Star Fox game as well. And that was actually kind of cool because that's one of those digitized sound effects. Like, you didn't normally get actual voice acting in a SNES game. So, you know, hearing a voice clip was kind of a big deal. In fact, Star Fox on the SNES in general was a huge technical marvel because it was one of the first games to use 3D graphics. It had the Super FX chip and 3D polygon graphics. Woo! This game takes it a step further and basically has voice acting for everything. All these cutscenes have these radio chatter dialogues and they're all fully voice acted, which was kind of cool and very impressive, and is probably the most iconic feature of this game. Whenever you ask anyone about Lylat Wars or Star Fox 64, the first thing they'll think of are those little talking scenes because they're such memorable lines. It's not like this game was the only game to have voice acting or anything, but they were just done really well.
Watch out! Bogey on your tail!
Whoa! Help! Thanks, Fox. I thought they had me.
So Lylat Wars is an arcade-style game. You can do a playthrough in about 45 minutes. It's not a very long game. But the idea is that it's a game you're going to be playing a lot to get all the different routes, levels, and see the different endings as well. As such, Corneria is actually a level that you're going to replay a lot because you have to replay this level every time you start a new game. And because of that, it's designed in such a way that makes it interesting on repeat playthroughs by having lots of little hidden things and lots of little, I guess, alternate paths. I mean, you're still going through a straight line, but if you go to the sides through those buildings, you get extra bonus enemies. You're on a fixed path, you're going along a single route, but you know, you can go through different areas and find hidden secrets like this, and that helps increase the longevity of the game by just making this more interesting on repeat playthroughs and stuff. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to discover those secret enemies, aside from just maybe flying through them by chance and just discovering enemies as you fly through certain arches. Some of them seem a bit obscure, but I guess that might happen if you play this game a million times and you think, oh, just fly through here, and then these 4 enemies appear out of nowhere. Again, flying in between these buildings, more enemies. You can discover that by yourself, or what usually happens is someone told you. Say, hey, if you try flying through these buildings, you get more enemies. Woo! And more enemies is good, because more enemies means more points. Woohoo!
Do a barrel roll!
Do a barrel roll. Nice meme, Peppy. Do a barrel roll. That'll never get old. Up ahead, there are some stone archways, so let's do some sick tricks. Woo! Gonna do a somersault. Bloody depth perception. Anyway, if you fly through all these hoops, you unlock the path to the alternate boss, which actually takes you to a different route on the world map. Or the map screen, rather. It's not a world map, because it's not in a world, it's a galaxy or universe, whatever the hell it is. Again, this is another one of those little secrets you might discover. Also helps to improve the replayability, as I've said. Not just this level, mind you. You know, this whole general design philosophy carries on throughout the entire game. Every mission is, you know, it's fairly easy to finish. There's not really much that can actually hurt you or kill you, unless you're playing expert mode, maybe. But to actually find all the secrets, different paths, and the different things in the level will require, you know, a certain amount of skill that you'll acquire once you play this game a million times. And I think that's cool. It's an incentive to replay a game that would otherwise be quite short and boring. And that's a common design element you see in a lot of arcade-style games.
Ah, someone wants to play.
Incoming enemy from the rear. Drop altitude.
Enemy field analyzed.
Gee, what a new and original boss. How long did it take for you guys to come up with this one, Nintendo?
Deploy all units. Charge!
So yes, this is the attack carrier, which is the same as the first boss in the original SNES Star Fox game. Works the same way as well, has the same weak spots. Shoot the bits inside once the lids open up, and then shoot the main ship once all the bits fall off. Works the same way, except if you have hyper lasers and are really good at pressing the fire button, then it's kind of a cakewalk.
Who are you guys?
We're Star Fox.
You'll never defeat Andross!
We're heading out. All aircraft report.
You did it! I was worried for a moment.
You're becoming more like your father.
Peppy, my father is dead.
I'm fine. You okay over there, Fox?
So on that run we got 180 points. Not bad at all. You notice earlier during the level, when our hit counter passed 150, the hit counter turned orange, and that's to indicate that you passed the medal threshold. If you manage to get at least 150 hits and keep all your teammates alive, you get a medal. And if you collect all the medals on every stage, you unlock Expert Mode. Again, another incentive to replay the game. Now, going through that secret path and killing the attack carrier boss allows us to go to Sector Y, but I can change course and go to the asteroid belt instead, which is the path we would have taken if we went the normal way.
Impressive, Star Fox. Now watch out for enemies in the asteroid field.
I won't let you down, sir.
Good luck.
Things are starting to heat up.
Quit dinking around, Flip. We're heading into the asteroid.
So the reason I decided to go to the asteroid field is because I'm actually trying to go for a high score, and this path actually gives you way more points than Sector Y does. But right now it's actually kind of a slow level. There's not much going on here, it's just a deserted asteroid field.
Hey, Einstein, knock it off,
I'm
boss.
shooting my teammates a lot.
It's quiet. Too quiet. Be careful, it's a trap.
I do like how the lock-on actually picks up the enemies before they show up the ambush. Yeah, they're all flying erratically, so it's a good idea to use bombs at this point, as Peppy mentions. You see what I mean when I say this is kind of a slow-paced level? There's just long stretches where nothing happens. There's no enemies now. Nothing. There's nothing to shoot at.
Here comes a big one.
That's what she said! Flying through that tiny ring of rocks gives you a bonus laser power-up. That one kind of makes sense to me, because that looks a bit more conspicuous. Flying in between buildings on Corneria I think is a bit more obscure, so I'm not sure. Again, that's one of those things where I'm like, how is anyone actually supposed to discover this
Can you make it?
without the help of a guide, aside from just going through it through dumb luck? Also, yeah, Peppy told us to use the brake, but screw that!
Use the boost to get through.
Gotta go speeding through. Actually, that's kind of a thing you see in Star Fox that you don't see in many other sort of these rail shooters. If you compare this to a rail shooter like, say, Space Harrier, you have no control over your speed, your movement speed. The SNES Star Fox kind of introduced the ability to speed up and slow down to avoid obstacles. And I think this is a bit of a dick move. They introduce Rob 64 dropping supplies for you, and then it drops a supply thing for you, and then suddenly it spawns enemies behind you. That's kind of a... I don't know, I think that's kind of a funny dick move in hindsight. Anyway, here's another long stretch where nothing happens. A weird thing about the first Star Fox game is when you went into a level that was based in outer space and not on a planet, the game defaulted you to this weird cockpit view. Now this game has a first-person cockpit view as well, except it's awful. It's bloody terrible. The camera rotation is locked to the vehicle, so whenever you tilt, the camera tilts. When you do a barrel roll, the camera spins around and you can't see anything. Not only that, the cockpit view in itself reduces your visibility because of the windscreen and the actual dashboard, and it's just awful. Why'd you do that?
The enemy's coming from behind.
I mean, in the original Star Fox game, the cockpit view didn't show your cockpit, and it didn't change the angle of the camera, you know, depending on how your ship tilted. So yeah, never use the cockpit view, it's awful. Here I just like using bombs because it's just too much work aiming at everything individually. I mistimed this bomb though, I was supposed to get all those weird little bee things that draw lines.
I guess it's your turn to be thanked.
But I mistimed the bomb. You can usually get them all if you get it slap bang in the middle. I've mentioned a few times that this is sort of an arcade style game. It was never an actual arcade game, it was never released in the arcades, but I do think it shares a lot of design elements that are similar to what you'd have in a well-designed arcade game. One of the things, as I've mentioned before, is the fact that you can take multiple routes through the game. On a single playthrough, you're not going to see every level, and you'll take different routes depending on how well you play during the game, or different decisions you make or secrets you find. And it's things like that that help the replayability of the game. Star Fox is not the only game to do this. There are other arcade games that have multiple pathways. If you look at Outrun, for example, the racing game, every now and again it'll give you a fork in the road. You can choose which direction to go in, and the different directions have different difficulty paths. House of the Dead 2 is another example. If you manage to save the civilians, it will take you on different paths sometimes. Afterburner Climax gives you different forks in the road as well, depending on the route you take. And here's another example. Going through all these little speed boosters makes me go to another dimension! Warp speed! Engage, Mr. Crusher! So yeah, we've just been taken to a weird bonus area of the second level. The original Star Fox game also had these weird portals that took you to a different route, or sometimes it just took you to an alternate level. There's the rather infamous slot machine level, where the game just ends on a slot machine. It's kind of a weird joke ending, but there's nothing quite that ludicrous in this game, unfortunately. I would have liked to see a slot machine, but right, that's not the case. But I went down this route because it takes us to the harder level, and also this secret other dimension also has way more enemies and things to destroy, which really boosts our score count. As you can see, the medal score is actually 200, so you need quite a few points to actually get the medal for this level. So you kind of have to go through this secret portal in order to earn the medal. It's even weirder that none of your teammates acknowledge this at all. You just go into this weird, bizarre plane of existence and no one says a thing. They don't acknowledge it. They don't even comment on how weird it is. You just come out the other end and just business as usual, really. And none of this makes any sense. Why are there space bees attached to strings and tiny rocks? Why do these rocks all have these weird, multicolored textures? Doesn't bother me anyway. I mean, they're each worth a single point each, so I just throw a bomb in there and millions of points. And the game gives you loads of bombs as well, so that's good to stock up on. Going down this route also means that you miss the boss fight of this level as well. You just skip it entirely. And I think the more points you get, the more your teammates get healed as well. So that's good, because I ended up shooting my teammates a lot. So now they're good as new. It's actually quite hard to get through all those speed boosters to activate the space portal. So, again, it's one of those things that's sort of based on skill. The more you play the game, the better you are at actually controlling the ship, and once you're good at controlling the ship, you can try for that secret route, and you can discover that weird as hell space dimension that we were just in. Let's never speak of that space dimension again, because it's now on to Katina.
Katina is battling the enemy. Will you help him out?
Affirmative, General.
Good luck.
Hang on, guys. Help is on the way. Fox, you made it.
Bill! Is that you? I can't believe it!
We can catch up later, Fox.
So now we're on Katina, and as you can see, we're not on rails anymore, not like the other two missions. We are in this all-range mode, where you have free control over your ship and have to shoot things around. This is a bit different because with full control of the ship, you have to actually look for enemies to destroy as they fly around. This one's even more awkward because there are friendly units that you can destroy. There's no real penalty for destroying them other than Bill yelling at you.
Try shooting the bad guy.
Yeah, like that. But unlike the other levels where you kind of have to react to the enemies appearing at set times or memorize them once you've got the level down, because it never changes, this one you do actually just have to look around for the enemies and shoot them down. It's a bit less arcadey in that respect.
I won't let you get away from me.
to help you locate enemies, you're given a map screen. It's kind of meaningless right now. You can see where all your teammates are, and all the enemy units are like white dots. I don't really use it much. It's more useful for boss fights, so you can locate where the bosses are. Like now, you can kind of see where the mothership is because it's a big giant black circle. But in other boss fights as well, you're told you know where it is, and that's more useful in that case. And this one, for me, for fighting individual enemies, it's easier just to turn until you see something come across your screen and then shoot it down. Enemies are more scattered in this mode as well, so you're not going to get many bonus points from the charge shots like you would normally. You'll just take them out one by one and earn your points individually. Oh, unskippable cutscene. Here comes the mothership. Very, very slowly. Okay, there we go. Oh no, more enemies. Wait, I didn't say that right. Oh hey, more enemies. That means I can shoot things more and get more points. So to get the medal for this stage, you need to get 150 hits. And the best way of getting that high score is just to farm enemies. Don't do what Bill says and destroy the hatches just yet. The best thing to do is just to let them hang around, and then they keep spawning more enemies as the enemies come from the mothership, and you can just shoot them all down. The downside is that does take a while to get to 150 points, so in the meantime I'll talk about another thing I love about this game, which is actually the characters. We were just introduced to Bill. He's a pilot in the Cornerian army. He doesn't have many lines in the whole game. You just heard most of them, it's just his introduction with Fox, but just those lines alone are enough to give you an interesting backstory about both Fox and Bill. Bill is part of the Cornerian army, and Fox is not part of the Cornerian army. He's part of a freelance mercenary group called Star Fox. However, they both know each other. They meet each other and greet each other as if they're old friends, and from that, you can kind of piece together the gaps in your mind. Just knowing that little bit of backstory and the friendly interaction between Fox and Bill as old friends who have just met up again, that in itself builds a lot of depth to each of these characters. It's not just Bill either. Kat is another character that you can meet in this game. We're not going to meet her in this run through, but when you meet her, Falco immediately responds with hostility. So there's already like an interesting dynamic there going on with Falco and Kat having, you know, being previous acquaintances, and the fact that he reacts so negatively kind of implies maybe what they got up to. You will never know what they really got up to, but it's sort of that little backstory that you can sort of piece together in your mind. And not only that, at some point after the mission you meet Kat, she disappears, and then Falco's all, "Hey Kat, where'd you go?" And him saying that after his initial hostility implies that he still has, you know, he's not entirely hateful towards her. He probably has like feelings for her and whatnot. And again, there's not really much of a story here, but just that alone adds enough depth to the characters that I think really helps make them likable. Even the Star Fox team themselves, the interactions with each other builds up their personality in ways that really works, I think. The way they interact with you, the player, as Fox McCloud, is pretty good. And not only that, the rivalry with Starwolf as well, I think, also adds some more depth to the characters. We already know about the backstory with Pigma betraying, you know, Fox's dad, so there's already like some kind of beef there with Peppy and Fox with Pigma. But also the rivalry with the other Star Wolf members really adds some depth to the characters as well. I mean, you get the feeling that Fox and Wolf had probably had some beef in the past. The fact that when you first meet Star Wolf as well, Fox is like, "Just who I needed to see, Star Wolf," and you know, you kind of get from that impression they've run into each other a lot before. So you kind of get that idea that they have this rivalry going on. Again, you know, the storyline of Star Fox and the way these characters are told, there's not really, you know, much material there. They don't really have that much dialogue, but I think just that alone is enough to add enough depth to the characters to make them really likable. I think it's also why I don't like Crystal. If you've watched my Star Fox Assault Let's Play, I've gone on at length about how I think Crystal's kind of a shallow character, and I initially said that it was because she's purely acts as a love interest. She doesn't seem to have any other kind of character trait. But thinking about it, you know, I tried to apply this logic to her as well, and I think there's a problem there in that she doesn't really have, like, a sort of backstory that's comparable to the rest of the Star Fox team. Whereas with everyone else, they're implied to have deep backstories. With Crystal, you're told her backstory at the start of Star Fox Adventures, and there's nothing there. There's no backstory at all. And it's hard to feel like there's any kind of relationship with her and the rest of the Star Fox team, because you've seen the moments in Star Fox Adventures when she's introduced. She immediately shows up just to bang Fox. And, you know, that one game was the first time they met her, so there's no history there at all. So I guess what I'm saying is all the Star Fox 64 characters have this implied backstory which gives them a lot of depth. But with Crystal, you know her backstory, it's not implied at all, and what backstory there is kind of dumb.
Hey, Einstein, I'm on your side.
I'm sorry, Falco, I didn't mean to. I'm going to turn around and shoot the mothership now. Let's end this level.
Hey, Einstein,
I turned around and Falco's right there, what the hell?
You did it!
You know, this reminds me of a movie. I'm trying to think which one it was, though. I think all that damage was from friendly fire. I'm really bad at not hitting my teammates.
Take care, Fox. You too, Bill.
You see that? Such a simple interaction. It works so well, I think. Now, we got the medal score for that stage, so a medal's all well and good, and because we managed to stop the mothership before it blew up the Katina base, we get to go to Solar. But, because I want to get more points, I'm actually going to change course and go to Sector X. This is the direction we would have gone if we didn't destroy the mothership in time and the base got destroyed.
Reports indicate that Andross is working on some secret weapon.
I'll check it out.
Good luck.
So here we are in mission number 4, Sector X. The first thing that happens is a shitload of enemies appear. Holy crap! Let's lock onto them and blow them all up with one hit.
Yippee! You did it!
I have no idea why Slippy said yippee I did it there. I think it has something to do with the fact that I destroyed a certain amount of enemies. One thing I actually really like about this game is actually its scoring system. It's a really simple scoring system, and I think it's very elegantly designed. It's very easy to keep track of, and once you know how it works, I think it helps to help you get better at the game. It's kind of different from other video game scoring systems. Usually, when you get points in video games, you get like hundreds of points, like 100 points. Like in Mario, when you step on a Goomba, you get like 100 points. This game actually keeps it fairly simple for some reason. It's like one hit is one kill. With some exceptions, of course. Some enemies are worth more points, but it's how the bonus points actually work is where the beauty of this scoring system lies. You see, the game encourages you to take out enemies with charge shots in groups. If you hold down the laser button, you can charge a shot and lock onto an enemy. That produces a lock-on shot which has a small blast radius. If an enemy's hanging out in a group and you hit multiple enemies in that blast radius, you get bonus points for each enemy you hit with the splash damage of that blast. For example, if you have a group of 3 enemies, you shoot the middle one with your charge shot and it hits the 2 other enemies around it, you get 3 hits for the 3 enemies you just killed, and the fact that the charge shot hit 2 other enemies as well as the one you were aiming in, you get hit plus 2, so you get 5 hits for what would normally be 3 points for 3 enemies. There I got hit +2 because I hit like 2 enemies with the splash damage of that shot. So going for the high score in this game actually results in reacting to groups and knowing where groups show up and firing a well-aimed charge shot. Sometimes there's even a timing thing involved where groups cluster together and you wait for them to come together and you release a shot at just the right time so that the blast shot of the charge shot hits as many enemies as possible. You can also exploit this a little bit because the game calculates bonus points by how many people are killed by the splash damage of the charge shot. You see there I got hit +2 because the charge shot actually hit a wall, but the splash damage is what killed the enemies and the splash damage is what determines the bonus points. So normally if I just lock on directly, I get hit +1 because it's a +1 for that enemy extra, like there. But if I shoot the charge shot indirectly and have it explode near the enemies and only kill them with the splash damage, then I get hit +1 for all the enemies. Once you figure this out, it kind of becomes a weird skill thing in where you have to learn how to fire a charge shot without actually locking on. And you need to get better at aiming as well in order for the charge shot to actually hit the surface. Without the lock-on, it's actually quite hard to hit things on a single shot. And it's not like you can spray and pray these things. It's actually fairly difficult and something that requires a fair amount of practice and skill to get a hang of. When I'm not doing fantastically here, I keep banging into walls trying to aim my unlocked-on charge shots. But, you know, I've gone way past the medal score for this stage, so that's good. This is another thing that sort of puts Star Fox with other arcade-style games. Learning how the scoring system and the bonus points work in this game is kind of similar to learning how a game gives you bonus points in other games. For example, if there's a combo system in a rhythm game or dance game, for instance, learning how that works is actually beneficial to maximizing your score.
What the heck? Fox, look behind you!
Falco, I can't look behind me. I'm not in all range mode. See, at some point I noticed there were enemies behind her and I realised I could lock onto them and earn a couple of extra points. I don't know what they're doing there. They don't attack you, they just kind of hang there. I guess they're supposed to be space debris, but the fact that you can lock onto it and shoot them for points is worth noting, just to increase my score a little bit more.
I will terminate all enemies.
Anyway, here's the boss. It's a robot. A rather sassy robot by the looks of it.
You are an enemy.
Anyway, the trick is to shoot it in the face. Ow, I got hit by his giant hands. I guess that was my fault, really. This boss is also another fork in the road that determines which route you can go down. If you don't kill this boss fast enough, Slippy ends up getting destroyed by the boss and he ends up crash landing on Titania, and you have to go to Titania to rescue him. If you defeat the boss fast enough before Slippy explodes, you go to the other level instead.
Huh? What?
The view is clear.
I kind of feel like that little fake out would have worked better if the boss of the asteroid belt didn't do almost the exact same thing.
I must be complete.
You notice that we got a hit +10 for destroying a boss. That usually occurs for most bosses. That's actually a time bonus. If you take too long to destroy a boss, the hit +10 actually gets reduced, or you don't get it at all. The fact that it says hit +10 is a little bit misleading because it's actually 11 points. You get 1 hit for the enemy you kill, plus the 10 bonus points. So that's actually 11 hits in total.
Ah, you're getting better, Fox.
I know, aren't I great? Earlier in this level as well, there was a little split in the path where we could have gone left. I chose to go right, but if you go left, you end up meeting Bill again. And there's also another hidden portal like the one there was in the asteroid belt that takes you through a weird parallel dimension and takes you to somewhere else on the map. I don't tend to go through that portal very much because you actually get more points if you don't go through the portal and do the level normally. And also I'm not really a huge fan of the level it takes you to, which I think is Sector Z. I might prefer this one, which is Macbeth.
So you're going to attack the enemy base? Great idea, Fox.
It'll be a piece of cake, General.
Great idea, Fox. I would never have thought of that.
Good luck.
So here we are on the Macbeth level, and we are playing as the Landmaster tank. This is actually our first taste of a new vehicle in this game. This level, and also Titania, which we would have gone to if we took the older route, use the Landmaster tank. There is another vehicle, which is the Blue Marine submarine, and that's on the Aquas level, which we don't see in this run. But even though this is a tank, and it should be quite different from an actual airplane, it kind of plays the same. You're still on rails, you still control in the similar way. There are some differences, but for the most part, it acts exactly the same. The cannon is a bit more powerful than the base R-Wing weapons, but it still has the ability to charge and lock on. And as you can see, I'm using the splash damage to earn points from the charge shot on these rocks. Moving up and down on the control stick normally controls the pitch of your ship, but obviously you can't do that in the tank. So instead you use it to aim the cannon up and down. I find the sensitivity on the Landmaster cannon a bit weird though, like aiming up and down just kind of feels a bit awkward. Also I feel like in the tank mode the sort of green crosshair isn't really that accurate. It's sort of a rough approximation as to where you're actually aiming rather than where you are aiming. And it's kind of hard to judge like the depth of where you're pointing at, so it's easier just to lock on and fire bombs and stuff from the tank. That's what I tend to do. So even though we're in a completely different vehicle, the fact that the gameplay style hasn't changed too much and the controls are more or less similar means that, you know, it's not too much of a jarring experience switching from the different vehicles. I mean, the thing about the R-Wing is that it's actually fairly simple to control. You know, it doesn't take long to get used to the controls, and I don't know if I'm trying to force this whole arcade design thing too hard here, but this is another thing that I think is indicative of an arcade game. It needs to be very simple to control. Not just arcade games either, I suppose. You know, other types of games need this, but I think it's also more the case in an arcade game, because an arcade game is actually, there's a certain amount of brevity that's required in an arcade game. It needs to be a very pick-up-and-play experience. Yu Suzuki, the man who made Shenmue and quite a few of those old AM2 arcade games, he has been quoted as saying that the essence of an arcade game needs to be captured in about 2 to 3 minutes within starting gameplay, and I think this game has that same kind of philosophy. It's, you know, you can kind of understand how the game works pretty much as soon as you start playing it, but of course understanding the depth and complexity of how to get good at the game and how the game works, of course, is a thing that takes a lot longer and something that will require quite a few playthroughs to fully grasp. So anyway, I really like this level because of the set piece of this train. Throughout the level you are following this train, and I think it's kind of neat. It's a train that's carrying materials and equipment and stuff, I guess. And I like the little attention to detail with the carriages that the train is carrying. A lot of them are holding missile warheads, and they're actually the same missiles you meet in the Sector Z mission when you have to defend your ship from the missiles. Earlier you also saw it was carrying one of those robots that you see in Corneria, the ones that really hate buildings and knock them down all the time. It was just a neat little detail that I didn't notice my first time playing this level.
I see the fuel bunker on the right side. Take the switch ahead.
So here's another part where the path you take changes depending on what you do. You have to shoot all the 8 switches in order to change the tracks ahead. For the most part it's fairly simple because they're quite obvious, but some of them are fairly well hidden, and you might not get them on your first time playing this.
Location confirmed. Taking supplies. I didn't expect half of you with this.
You're very lucky.
I really like the train conductor's voice. I love his accent. There's a switch you might not get the first time you play this level. It's sort of hidden behind the train car once he summons the giant flying robot thing. The game kind of deviously guides you towards the right side of the screen with that little tunnel with the supply that Rob64 drops for you. So you have to know to immediately go left if you go in there.
I'm here to rescue.
And of course Falco helps you hit one of the switches if he's still alive. The switch is up ahead, but you do have to be aware of the robot enemy, because he does try to flip you over, and if he flips you about, you might miss the switch at the end.
Good going, Mark.
And doing this means we skip the entire boss fight. Well, hey.
No! Give the blade! I can't stop it!
And that's a lot of bonus points. Now I'm playing Lylat Wars on the Wii Virtual Console. And one thing about the Virtual Console release is some of the transparent textures look a bit darker than they should, so that explosion looks a bit different than it does in the original N64 version. You also don't get the massive amount of frame rate drops you got in the N64 version. That explosion just now, the frame rate just dies on the N64 version, and it actually kind of makes it look pretty dramatic because it all goes slow motion. Something that I kind of noticed as well playing this on, emulators and on this Virtual Console release, it has a better picture quality. The tank barrel actually has a tiny wheel inside it. If you look down the tank barrel, there's a thing that's spinning, and that's because it seems to be using the same texture as the tank wheels. If you look on the side of the treads, you've got the full rolling wheels. There's also an extra wheel right inside the barrel for some reason. You can see it rotating now. I have no idea why they put the wheel there. I guess reusing textures just saved the space on the cartridge, maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, destroying the base by having a train crash inside it takes us to the harder route. If we didn't change the switch and destroyed the flying robot as usual, we would have gone to the Bolts Defense Station instead. So, we're nearly done with this playthrough. It's on to the next level, Area 6.
It's almost over. We're in your debt. Come back in one piece, Fox.
Will do, General.
Good luck.
Came in here. No problem. Do you copy? Emergency maneuvers! Too late. Game over, pal.
So here we are on Area 6, the penultimate level of the game. A final rush towards the planet Venom. This level's great. It's a huge rush towards the end, and it's full of enemies and things to destroy. It's actually quite a hard mission. There's a lot of things out there to kill you and blow up, and yeah, it can be quite challenging. You've got a lot of things to shoot at. Not only do you have a lot of enemy groups, you also have quite a few larger targets like these space station satellite things that look like spin tops. Those are worth a fair amount of points, and you kind of have to shoot them a lot in order to destroy them. So you kind of have to have hyper lasers engaged, and also you have to be pretty quick on the fire button to destroy these. Also a fairly good aim. It can be quite hard. And also being able to aim and avoid things that are coming at you. There's a lot going on in this level, and it's quite challenging. The hyper lasers I've pretty much kept throughout the entire game. The laser upgrade system basically is single lasers, then to double lasers, and then hyper lasers, which are these blue ones that do way more damage. And they're kind of essential if you want to destroy these things quick enough, because you have to shoot them a lot before they disappear off screen. You lose your upgrades if you lose a wing. If one of your wings takes too much damage, you will lose the wing and go back to single lasers. You have to take a fair amount of damage to your wings for them to actually break off though, unless you play on expert mode. Expert mode is kind of the same as the normal mode, except you have more enemies, and also if you crash into anything at all, your wing instantly breaks. I wouldn't mind expert mode, except for the fact I feel like the fact that losing a wing on the slightest touch is a bit too harsh a punishment. I'm not against the challenge, but I think sometimes when you crash into things, it's not always your fault. Sometimes in like all range missions, like the one in Katina for instance, sometimes ships will just crash into you because you just happen to be flying in a direction. Sometimes your teammates crash into you and they yell at you and say, "What were you flying, Fox?" Usually you just can't help it. It just fucking happens, man. And sometimes when you lose a wing power up, you go all the way back to single lasers rather, and only having one wing where your handling is severely compromised. all because of something that wasn't really your fault, that kind of makes me feel weird. So I don't tend to play expert mode that much. I haven't got all the medals in expert mode. But never mind expert mode, we still got to destroy all these things. These bee enemies are actually kind of hard to hit, but they're worth 4 points, so it's worth trying to destroy them.
They've broken through the first line.
I really like the theme of this level as well, just a final rush through the defenses of Planet Venom, and hearing the radio chatter of Cayman and the other guy react to you getting past all these defenses and destroying everything is great. It really makes it feel really dramatic, and I think they did a good job there. The amount of enemies on screen also helps build a really tense atmosphere.
We're gonna break through that fleet.
This is a level that will take a lot of practice to actually do well. There's a lot of enemies on screen. You're not going to shoot all of them. There's a lot of things that you can destroy, like these giant, battleships. With these big green battleships, you can see they have like a bridge, and if you shoot the bridge, then you can destroy them. And destroying the battleships gives you quite a few points. You can also get bonus points by using charge shots and hitting the gun turrets that are mounted on the front of the ship, and each one of those you destroy with the charge shot gives you quite a few extra points. So you have so many things to shoot at, and also so many things to avoid, which I'm not doing a good job at avoiding in this run. But yeah, you can see that there's a lot of things that you have to keep an eye on in this level. It's definitely a level that will require practice.
Yippee! You did it!
I think he said yippee there because I got the medal score. 300 points you need. That's quite a lot, and getting the medal on this score is actually kind of hard, but practice makes perfect. And even after playing this a while, this is still quite a challenging level, so this is, really fun to get good at.
Deploy it now.
Like, doing this level well is really satisfying.
Enemy ahead! This one's different.
Crud! We were so close to Venom.
Now, unlike the rest of this level, this boss is actually kind of easy. Its weak points are pretty obvious. You just shoot the glowing red orbs, and then you have to shoot the tentacles.
Working.
Enemy field analyzed.
I'm not even sure what it's supposed to be. It doesn't look like a ship. I guess it might be some kind of battle station of some sort, but it's just kind of a big circular blob with tentacles coming out of it. It doesn't really look like anything. It doesn't look like it serves like a purpose, I guess, is my complaint about this boss. It just seems kind of like a thing, I guess. I don't know. But it's not a bad boss fight, I guess. It's just, I don't know what it is. What is it? Is it a frisbee? Is it like a giant nipple? What is it? I don't know. There's not much more to say about this boss, really. It's fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah!
Yeah!
Shoot the tentacles to open the core.
It's okay, Peppy. I know what to do. I've been doing it. It's fine. So here's another weird graphical glitch that happens with the virtual console release of the game. This giant beam is actually supposed to animate a bit more. Like, there's supposed to be more colours here. It's not just supposed to be just solid pink. There's supposed to be other shades of pink as well that sort of pulsate on that beam. But for some reason, that weird texture effect doesn't work there.
Destroy all three energy balls.
I've played this game on an original N64 and also on an emulator, and the texture effect seems to work fine there. I'm just wondering why the Virtual Console release had such a weird issue with it. This is the Wii Virtual Console release, not the Wii U one that came out recently.
You did it!
Oh, it's dead. Okay, cool. They were almost dead. But thankfully I got enough points to replenish pretty much all their health except for Peppy.
Hold on. We're entering Venom airspace. Say your prayers, Andross.
The fact that the final battle text isn't quite centered properly in that text box bothers me too much.
Don't get too cocky, Star Fox.
Let's see how you handle our new ships.
New ships? I didn't even see your old ships on this playthrough.
Too bad Dad's not here to see you fail.
Alright, let's take care of these guys.
We'll make sure you never reach Andross. No! We'll just see about that, Star Wolf.
No! We'll just see about that, Star Wolf.
You guys don't give up.
So, the battles with Star Wolf you find in this game take place in this all-range mode, in this sort of dogfighting thing. You can change the viewpoint in these all-range modes. Instead of the first-person view mode, you get this zoomed-out camera mode, and that's good for seeing when someone's behind chasing you. You kind of have to use the map screen to actually find where the Star Wolf team are. They're the black ships. It's also easy to find them when they start chasing your teammates because they call for help, and then there's an indicator on screen telling you exactly where they are, so you can just find them that way. And yeah, if you have hyper lasers still, these guys are actually fairly easy.
The party's just begun.
I'm just kind of paranoid about hitting my own teammates because I've kind of hit them a lot on this playthrough, and I don't want to like knock them out because if they die, I won't get the medal. Medals have no bearing on your high score, of course, but I'd rather not destroy my teammates. I hit him again. I kind of destroyed Wolf really early, but if he was still alive, he'd be chasing me quite aggressively, like how the teammates are attacking their associated rivals quite aggressively. Pigma really goes for Peppy, and Leon really goes for Falco, and Andrew goes for Slippy for some reason.
There's one more to go.
You get hit plus 50 for destroying each of the Star Wolf team here, which is quite a generous time bonus, so you want to destroy these guys quickly, before they take out your teammates, and so you can keep that high score bonus of hit plus 50. Alright, so I got the full time bonus, and we've already got the badge score for this level. On to Andross!
I'll go it alone from here.
I've been waiting for you, Star Fox.
Now this tunnel area is sort of a maze, and depending on which direction you take, you get different power-ups. I can never remember which path gives you the best power-ups, but we've already got full hyper lasers and stuff, so there's really no need. The only thing we don't have is bombs, and that might be a problem later on in this boss fight, which you might see. Instead, I just took the shitty path that gives me an extra life. I have 17 lives, I don't need this many. Anyway, here's the final boss. It's a giant monkey face that goes up and laughs at you. This boss fight's fairly simple. You have to destroy his hands, which have the glowing weak spot, and once you destroy the hands, you can attack his face, and that will destroy Andross. You can shoot him in the eyes, and that stuns him, and when he gets stunned, he usually shows off his weak spots, so they're easier to hit. But yeah, it's a fairly simple boss fight. This kind of comes out of nowhere, to be honest. You're probably not expecting a giant monkey face to be the final boss of a sci-fi space adventure. But in the context of the Star Fox series, I guess it makes sense, because the final boss of the original Star Fox game, it was this weird sort of polygon 3D face, but it was still a face nonetheless. Here he's giving us the suck. If I had a bomb, I could just chuck it in his mouth and it'll explode in his mouth and damage him. But I didn't have one, so I just had to barrel roll my way out of there. If he swallows you, he usually manages to break your wings off.
Only I have the brains to rule Lylat.
I still don't understand, really.
So, Andross, you show your true form.
I don't understand why Andross's true form is a giant brain. More importantly, did he come up with the pun before or after he transformed into a giant brain? I don't know. Was he just waiting to use that line? Anyway, this boss is actually quite challenging if you don't know how to deal with it, but luckily I do, so this is fairly brief. First of all, you need to get the 2 eyeballs to chase you, and then you somersault behind them so you can take them out really easily. You see there, I used the extended rear view in order to get a better view of what was chasing me. And yeah, once you somersault behind them, they can't really do anything, so you can just chase them down. Destroying the brain itself is a bit more tricky. His only weak spot is the cerebellum. It's actually coloured differently. Hitting any other part of his brain doesn't actually damage him at all. In fact, if you hit the other parts too much, he'll teleport behind you. His main mode of attacking is just chasing you aggressively. If he manages to catch you in his brain tentacles, you take loads of damage and he usually breaks your wings off instantly. Luckily, when he teleports behind you, he's usually facing away from you, and if you'll turn around quick enough, you can shoot his weak spot pretty easily.
If I go down, I'm taking you with me.
Don't ever give up, my son.
Father?
Follow me, Fox.
Oh snap, Fox McCloud's dad is still alive. Kind of, it's never really made clear. We've pretty much won the game now, you just have to follow this guy out. And
This way.
yeah, he just leads you out of the maze so you can get out before it explodes. If you take the wrong turn, naturally you just go into a wall of fire and die. Again, I made that Andross fight look fairly easy, but he did give me a lot of trouble on my first time playing this, simply because I just had no idea how to actually hit him and where his weak spot is, or more specifically how to aim at his weak spot, because when he's facing you, it's pretty much covered up by his main brain. And of course, you know, once he starts chasing you, it's actually kind of hard to lose him. And once he catches you, he breaks your wings off, and then you're stuck with crappy single lasers, and then it's kind of hard to actually do damage to him. So he can be quite a challenging boss.
You've become so strong, Fox.
You're okay!
Way to go, Fox!
That's our leader. What's wrong, Fox? Nothing. Nothing's wrong.
So that's it. That's the final level done, and that's Andross taken care of. We didn't get the high score this run, but it's not a bad score generally. I'm alright with that. Could have been better, but not a bad score if I say so myself. The whole James McCloud thing is a bit ambiguous. Fox is the only one that acknowledges him, and we're not sure if that's like a ghost, or if that really is James McCloud, or if it's Fox McCloud's imagination. We just don't know. But I guess that's dwelling on the little details, really. None of that really matters because we have defeated Andross and saved the Lylat system. If we went the other route to the boss defense station and went to the other final level, we would have fought a fake robot Andross, and that would have given us not as good ending. This ending sequence kind of goes on for a while, and I kind of feel like this whole ending sequence seems quite cinematic for me, in sort of a weird way. It's like, I mean, obviously you have this cutscene, which is fairly cinematic, but I think also the musical score they're using, I mean, you know, considering the N64 sound chip, is pretty cinematic as well, and I think that's quite fitting of the game as a whole, because I think the game is paced quite similarly to watching a movie. You know, the length is about the length of a movie. It's about an hour long. So by the end of it, you kind of feel like you've just consumed the movie, and there's a huge credit sequence now. you know, it's paced like a movie, so you have sort of the climactic ending as well. Area 6, I feel, is akin to like the final dramatic battle of a movie. I don't know if that actually makes sense. I mean, you have the introduction sequence and stuff like that. I mean, I guess it helps that there's fully voice-acted dialogue, which kind of makes it feel like a movie. There's the various sci-fi references and inspirations from, you know, different sci-fi things. All that together kind of makes it feel like a movie. Even though this isn't a particularly sort of cinematic game with lots of cutscenes and stuff, it still kind of gives that same vibe. These pre-rendered backgrounds look awful. God damn.
Star Fox, we are in your debt. I would be honored to have you as part of the Cornerian...
Oh, no, sir. We prefer doing things our own way.
Great Fox is ready to go.
It's time for us to go now.
And now we run out of ideas for what else to put in this final credits sequence, so we're just going to pad the rest of the credits with this looping running animation for the rest of the time. I think at this point you can also tell they were running out of cartridge space because of the limited file size that the game could be to fit on the cartridge, because when you talk to General Pepper just now, the voice quality is just awful. It just sounds bad, but I guess, you know, you can tell they compressed a lot of the audio. Not all of it, mind. Some of it actually sounds okay, but they had to compress a lot of it for it to fit on the N64 cartridge. And that's just how it is, I suppose. That's Nintendo's decision to not use CDs for you. The character models for the Star Fox team are fairly low polygons, which kind of makes sense for an N64 game, but what doesn't make sense to me is that they use the same low polygon models for all the promotional renders of the game. Like, while Mario 64 had like a higher detailed Mario to appear on official artwork, for these guys they just got the same character models and put them through the rendering filter, so they just look terrible in stuff. I don't know, it was weird. I don't know why they have this fantastical music going on, because right now it kind of looks like Rob64 is leaving without the team, and they're like, wait for us, what are you doing? Come back! Rob, stop! We won't make you clean the toilets anymore! That'll be Slippy's job from now on! He likes doing it! Rob! Stop! And so our heroes ride off into the sunset after a job well done. And that's it for this playthrough of Lylat Wars, or Star Fox 64. I've already mentioned it's one of my most favourite games of all time, and I hope I've been able to show you guys a little bit about why I think that. I just think it's such a great game, you know, it's got this old arcadey style charm to it that I can always go back to and play every now and again. And on top of just being a really fun and well-designed arcade-style game, the characters and voice acting just gives it a certain charm that makes it a joy to play every single time. Well, the credit sequence went on for so long, the Wii U decided to darken the screen. I guess that's some kind of screen burn-in protection or something. So, here's my score. Rank number 4. Not the highest score, but not a bad score either. And, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this little rambly video commentary through a playthrough of Star Fox 64. And, sorry it's taken so long for me to actually upload an actual video onto this YouTube channel. See you guys next time. Whenever next time is.